He rolled down the window to give a homeless woman some change. But the moment she looked up, he froze, because he knew that face. And she wasn't just any beggar. She was the woman who vanished from his life 20 years ago, and the mother of 2 children he might never have known existed. What came next would drag him into a secret he had spent his entire life trying to forget. It was raining that Thursday morning, the kind of cold drizzle that made even millionaires feel uncomfortable in their warm leather seats. Nathaniel Kingus, that Nathaniel King, tech mogul turned philanthropist, was stuck in traffic on 7th Avenue. His driver, as always, sat quietly in the front, while Nathaniel scrolled absently through emails on his phone, his mind 1,000 miles from reality. But what happened next wasn't in any calendar or inbox. As the car slowed to a stop near the corner of Fairmont and 7th, Nathaniel's eyes caught something, or rather, someone on the sidewalk. A woman sitting on a piece of damp cardboard, 2 children curled up beside her, covered with nothing more than a torn, oversized hoodie. Something about her posture made him pause. It wasn't the desperation he'd seen that before. It was the stillness. The way she stared straight ahead, expressionless, empty. Instinctively, without thinking, Nathaniel reached into his coat pocket, pulled out a handful of coins, never carried cash, just old habits from before, and rolled down his tinted window. The coins clinked into her styrofoam cup. Then she looked up, and everything stopped. The chill that ran down Nathaniel's spine wasn't from the rain, it was from her eyes. Because in that single glance, he knew her. But she didn't seem to recognize him at all. Or was she pretending? Her name wasn't uttered, but memories began crashing down on him like waves during a storm. Those eyes had kissed those eyes. That jawline, he had caressed it after late-night talks. That woman used to sit across from him at a candlelit table, laughing at his terrible cooking. Now she sat on a sidewalk like a ghost of his past. Was it really her? And if so, how did she end up like this? Nathaniel's chest tightened. The children, were they hers? Were they... Sir? The driver turned slightly. Should I keep moving? Nathaniel didn't answer. Because in that moment, he wasn't in the car anymore. He was 16 again, at a train station, watching someone board a bus and disappear from his life forever. The last time he saw her was almost 20 years ago. Her name was Emily Rose, and she left without saying goodbye. They were in love. Until the night she vanished. Nathaniel never spoke about Emily. Not to his staff, not to his investors, not even to his therapist. Emily was the chapter he pretended didn't exist. Not because it hurt, though it did, but because of what happened that final week. A week that left scars deeper than the world ever knew. But now, here she was, barefoot, shivering, her face older, harder, but unmistakably hers. And in her eyes, there was a secret, one he wasn't ready to face. According to Dr. Helen Rourke, a behavioral psychologist from NYU, when individuals encounter past trauma in unexpected moments, like recognizing a former partner in distress, the brain's defense mechanisms can short-circuit. What they experience isn't just shock, it's a full-body memory, and often it's overwhelming. Overwhelming was putting it lightly. Nathaniel sat frozen, breath fogging up the glass. One of the kids, the older one, stood up and stared at the car. At him. There was something familiar about the child's face. The shape of the eyes, the way he tilted his head. Was that a coincidence? Or... He rolled up the window slowly. "Keep driving," Nathaniel whispered. The car moved. But his mind didn't. Back at his penthouse, Nathaniel couldn't concentrate. His assistant kept knocking. The boardroom was waiting. There were 3 media appearances scheduled. He canceled everything. That night, He opened the locked drawer in his study. Inside, untouched for years, was a photo. A girl in a yellow dress. A boy in a wrinkled tuxedo. A sunset behind them. Smiles that believed in forever. He flipped it over. Emily and Nate prom 2004. He had to know. Why was she on that street? Why didn't she call? Why was she pretending not to know him? And most importantly, were those children his? The rain hadn't stopped the next day. In fact, it felt heavier, as if the sky itself was echoing Nathaniel's storming thoughts. He didn't sleep. He didn't eat. The photo of Emily in the yellow dress stayed on his desk, untouched. But his mind kept circling around the same image, her eyes looking up from the street and not blinking. He knew it was her. But why didn't she say anything? Why didn't she react? Unless she didn't want to be found. Nathaniel wasn't the kind of man to chase ghosts. He built an empire on logic, data, and ruthless execution. But Emily wasn't data. She was chaos. Beautiful, wild, unforgettable chaos. And chaos had just reappeared at his feet. He called Marcus, his head of security. I need eyes on someone. No police, no media, quiet. Within an hour, Marcus returned with a location. She's still at the corner of Fairmont. Same place. Every morning for the past 6 weeks. Nathaniel's heart sank. 6 weeks. She'd been out there. While he was attending galas. While he was giving speeches on ending poverty. He wasn't sure if the irony made him sick or laugh. At precisely 10:14 a.m., Nathaniel returned. This time, he wasn't in the back seat. He walked alone. No coat, just a hoodie, hood up, face down. From across the street, he saw her. Emily sat the same way still, staring, detached. Her kids weren't there, just her, sipping something from a cracked thermos. Her hands trembled slightly. Nathaniel's breath caught again. He couldn't just walk up, so he crossed and sat on the opposite bench. Watching, waiting. 10 minutes passed, then 15. Then she stood. She grabbed her cup, slung a backpack over her shoulder, and turned. Nathaniel stood too. And when she saw him, this time she stopped. Her lips parted slightly. No words. Just eyes. Recognition. Regret. And something else. Fear. Emily, he said quietly. She blinked, swallowed. I don't know you, she whispered, stepping back. His voice cracked. Emily, it's me, Nathaniel. But she shook her head. I'm sorry. You have the wrong person. She turned and walked away. But her hands were shaking. Nathaniel didn't follow. He just stood there, cold, drenched, confused. That was her. It had to be. The way she said his name. The way she didn't say it. She knew exactly who he was. So why lie? Why run? That night, he dug deeper. Emily rose. No death record, no marriage certificate, no tax filings in over 10 years. She didn't exist. Not legally, but according to Marcus's silent surveillance, she showed up every morning like clockwork. She bought 2 bagels at 8:12 a.m. sharp from the same vendor. She sat on the same spot. She waited. She left by noon. And one more thing. She checks her phone every 15 minutes, Marcus said. But no one ever calls. Nathaniel remembered the final week. The one no one knew about. The night Emily showed up at his dorm room, bleeding. The man she was running from. The deal they made. The secret he swore to keep. Dr. Rourke again. When someone re-enters your life under dramatically different conditions, especially if trauma is involved. Both parties can suffer severe identity dissonance. They don't know how to relate to each other. One carries guilt, the other, shame. Nathaniel felt both, because the truth was, he had failed her once. And now, she was slipping away again. But something happened the next morning. Emily didn't come, nor the day after, or the one after that. She was gone, and the only clue she left behind was a folded note in the exact spot she used to sit. It read, "Don't look for me. You're not safe either." Nathaniel read the note again, then again. Each word seared deeper than the last. "Don't look for me. You're not safe either." His fingers trembled as he folded it carefully and slid it into his wallet, next to the photo of her in the yellow dress. The air around him felt thinner, the world quieter. The street where she once sat was now just concrete and noise. No Emily. No children. Only questions. And one terrifying implication. Who was he not safe from? Nathaniel wasn't new to danger. As the face of multiple billion-dollar mergers and a known philanthropist who'd crossed powerful corporate interests, he'd received threats before. But none of them made his blood run cold like that note did. Because this one was personal. It came from Emily, the only person who had ever vanished to protect him once before. That night, he didn't go home. Instead, he returned to Columbia University, to the archive building. In the basement, where old student records and yearbooks were stored, Nathaniel found the 2004 student incident logs. It took 2 hours of sweet-talking a security guard and pretending he was researching an upcoming donation. But there it was. The 18th of March, 2004. Unidentified male entered campus without clearance. Altercation reported near Elm Dormitory. No charges filed. Victim requested anonymity. He knew that night. He remembered her hands shaking as she knocked on his door. Her shirt torn, her voice shaking. She said she couldn't go back. Back then, he didn't press for details. He gave her the money. He arranged the transport. And the next morning, she was gone. Dr. Charles Levinson, a former FBI profiler, once said, "When people disappear, it's rarely random. There's usually a system, an enemy, or a choice. But when they resurface in public briefly, they're either sending a message or screaming for help." So, which was it? Was Emily warning him? Or begging him to follow? The next clue didn't come from a camera or a letter. It came from his driver. "Sir, you remember that homeless woman with the children?" he said softly, almost afraid to bring it up. "I saw one of the kids again." Nathaniel turned sharply. "Where?" "By the bakery on Rose Hill Avenue. A woman left the kid there with a man." "What kind of man?" "White hair, long coat, looked military." "Military?" Nathaniel's stomach twisted. He went to Rose Hill that afternoon. No kid, no man. But the bakery's CCTV caught something. A woman in a hood, holding a boy's hand. She looked straight into the camera. And just before walking away, she smiled. That smile wasn't random. It was meant for him. She knew he'd look. Back at his penthouse, Nathaniel turned off the lights and poured a glass of scotch. Not because he needed to drink, rarely did, but because the burn helped him focus. He lined up every detail. Emily's reappearance. The children. The note. "You're not safe either." A man who looked military. Her smile on camera. The memory of that night 20 years ago. And then it clicked. The man from 2004. He was never caught. Never identified. But what if he never stopped looking? What if Emily didn't just disappear back then to protect herself, but to protect him? And now, he was close again. Nathaniel picked up the phone. Marcus, I need everything on ex-military personnel living in Manhattan, especially those with sealed records. And I need protection for a woman and 2 kids, even if they don't want it. A pause on the line. Sir, what are you planning to do? Nathaniel stared at the old prom photo, at her smile. Finish what I should have started 20 years ago. 2 hours later, Marcus sent a file. Encrypted. Restricted. Marked with red tags Nathaniel hadn't seen since his brief consulting days with cybersecurity at Langley. Subject, Colonel Alexander Wyatt. Red. Status, unofficial. Suspicious activity flagged. Former roles, psychological ops, black site logistics, domestic counterintelligence. Location, unknown, last verified, Brooklyn. Nathaniel leaned back, knuckles white against his glass. This was the man? The same one from 2004? The one who made Emily run? Wyatt's file was nearly spotless. Too spotless. Every line of commendation felt like camouflage. A career full of shadows, erased trails, and redacted names. But one thing stood out. A known alias. Jonathan Hale. And under that name, a purchase. 2 months ago. A brownstone apartment on Rose Hill Avenue. The same street where the child was spotted. Nathaniel's pulse thudded louder than the rain outside. He knew what this meant. Emily hadn't just reappeared. She had been hiding in plain sight, moving carefully, circling Nathaniel's orbit, not for help, but to warn him. To lure Wyatt out. To finish what had started years ago. Or maybe to die trying. The next day, Nathaniel went there himself. Rose Hill Avenue. No bodyguards, no backup, just instinct, memory, and fear. The brownstone was unassuming. A faded green door, mail spilling from the box. The kind of place that looked abandoned if you weren't looking closely. He waited. Watched. And then 3:27 p.m. a man stepped out. Tall, sharp, controlled. White hair, long coat, black gloves. Colonel Alexander Wyatt. His eyes scanned the street with military precision. Even from a distance, Nathaniel felt it. This was a predator. Wyatt walked 3 blocks, stopped at a pawn shop, then turned into an alley. Nathaniel followed, silent. Around the corner, he was gone. Just gone. Then a voice behind him. You should have stayed away. Nathaniel turned. Wyatt stood there, calm, almost amused. I knew she'd drag you back, he said. I warned her once. She didn't listen. Nathaniel's throat tightened. What do you want from her? Wyatt tilted his head. You still don't get it. I'm not after her. I'm after what she took. Back in 2004, Emily wasn't just running from an abusive man. She was running from a government asset gone rogue. A mission gone wrong. A leak. And a woman who had seen something she wasn't supposed to. Emily. She never told Nathaniel the truth because knowing it was fatal. She disappeared to protect him from more than heartbreak. She vanished to protect him from a war he didn't know existed. Wyatt stepped closer. You were the distraction, the weakness, her mistake. Nathaniel clenched his fists. She's not your problem anymore. A cruel smile crept across Wyatt's face. She always has been. Then he walked away, as if nothing happened. No threats, no fight. Just a promise, left hanging in the air like smoke. Back at his penthouse, Nathaniel found an envelope on his kitchen counter. He lived alone, had a top security system, no forced entry. Inside the envelope, a photograph. Emily. The 2 children, smiling. Taken yesterday. On the back, scribbled in black marker, Pick a side, Nathaniel. You don't get to watch this time. Dr. Levinson's words came rushing back. When someone resurfaces from the dark, it's not to be found. It's because the darkness followed them. Nathaniel was no longer just remembering the past. He was inside it. And this time, he had to choose. Stay safe and lose her forever, or step into the shadow that had chased her for decades. He opened a drawer in his desk. Inside was a sealed envelope marked, "Emily, only if I'm gone." He had written it 19 years ago. He never thought he'd have to read it himself. Nathaniel stared at the envelope. Yellowed edges, a faded ink smudge near the seal. His handwriting, rushed, uneven. He had written it the night Emily disappeared. It was supposed to be a goodbye, a confession, a promise he thought she'd read while starting a new life, far away from danger. He never imagined he'd open it himself. And now, it felt like trespassing into a version of himself he had buried. He broke the seal. Inside, a single page, cracked with time, but every word was still sharp. "Emily, if you're reading this, it means you're safe, or at least safer than you were. I'm sorry I let you go alone. I'm sorry I didn't fight harder. I didn't know what you were running from, but I knew it was bigger than me. I thought stepping back was protecting you. But if I'm wrong, and you're not okay, then I failed twice. Wherever you are, know this. I never stopped looking. I never stopped loving you. And if you ever need me, I'll burn the world to find you. Nathaniel." He folded the letter back, slower this time. Every line hit differently now, because Emily had needed him. She was calling not with words, but with silence. Each missed encounter, each time she refused to speak, had been strategic. She didn't want him involved, but she needed him aware. And now, he was. The next move had to be precise. No media, no board of directors, no staff. Just one name. Clara Yu, former MI6, now underground, specialized in recovery operations for people off-grid. Nathaniel hadn't spoken to her in 9 years, but when he called, she answered after one ring. "What took you so long?" she said. That alone sent a chill through his chest. "You know why I'm calling?" Nathaniel replied. "I figured when I saw Wyatt's face pop up on surveillance last week. He never retired, Nate. He just evolved. Do you know where she is?" A pause. "Not exactly, but I know who does." Clara sent an encrypted file. Inside was a photo. Emily, with both kids, entering a safe house in Queens. Time stamped, 3 hours ago. She was on the move again, running, but this time, leaving breadcrumbs. Dr. Rourke would later explain, victims of long-term surveillance learn to send non-verbal messages, patterns in behavior, controlled visibility. They show up where they'll be seen on purpose. Because deep down, they want to be found, but only by the right person. That's what Emily was doing. She wasn't hiding anymore. She was inviting him in. Carefully, desperately, before Wyatt found them first. Nathaniel didn't wait. No guards, no team, just him and Clara. They drove through Queens, winding alleys, unmarked doors, silence thick between them. "This ends tonight," Clara muttered. Nathaniel clenched his fists. One way or another. The safe house was empty when they arrived. Blankets tossed, dishes still warm. Someone had just left. But on the mirror, written in lipstick, "Trust the kid. He knows the way." Nathaniel stared at the message, then at Clara. "The boy, her son." Clara nodded. "She trained him." From a side table, Nathaniel picked up a drawing. Stick figures. A woman, 2 children, and a man with white hair crossed out in red. Next to it, a church. 3 stained glass windows. A clock tower. Nathaniel recognized it. St. Lydia's Cathedral. Downtown. And just like that, the chase turned into a race. They arrived just as the sun dipped behind the steeples. Inside the cathedral, silence. Then, a child's voice. "Mom, he's here." Emily stepped out from the shadows. Eyes tired, body trembling. Nathaniel moved toward her, but she raised her hand. "He followed you," she whispered. And then, a shot rang out. The sound cracked through the cathedral like a whip. Stone walls amplified the echo. Birds scattered from the rafters. For a second, time paused. Nathaniel dropped to his knees, arms instinctively around Emily and the boy. Clara was already moving, gun drawn, sweeping the pews. No blood. No scream. The bullet had missed. But that wasn't the point. It was a message. Wyatt was inside. Emily's voice trembled. "I told you not to come." "I had no choice," Nathaniel replied. "He came for me too." Clara motioned them behind the altar. "You have 5 minutes before he reloads or circles. We move now." Emily hesitated. "Where's Lily?" "The girl?" Clara asked. "She wasn't with you?" Emily's face went pale. "She was here 10 minutes ago." Nathaniel stood. He took her. Clara scanned the stained glass windows. "Number he's still hunting. If he had her, he'd already be gone." Emily gripped Nathaniel's arm. "He wants me to run. Again. Just like before." Nathaniel shook his head. "Not this time. Dr. Levinson, the profiler, once warned, some predators don't want the kill. They want the hunt. They crave control, fear, the dismantling of identity, especially when their target once escaped. That was Wyatt. And Emily had beaten him once. Now he wanted to undo that victory. The boy tugged Nathaniel's sleeve. "He said something to Lily before he disappeared," he whispered. He said, "Let's finish the story." Emily froze. It was a phrase from their past. From that night. Wyatt had said it before, dragging her into the black SUV in 2004. Before she escaped, Nathaniel remembered it too. And now he understood. This wasn't random. It was reconstruction. Wyatt was trying to replay the night she escaped him. But this time, with the girl in her place. Clara opened her Common.com. Team 3, move to Grid Echo 9. Lockdown perimeter. Eyes on the bell tower. That's where he'll take her. Emily looked up. "The clock tower." Nathaniel nodded. "He's going to make us choose." They ran. Up the narrow stone staircase. Every step louder than the last. The boy stayed with Clara. Emily and Nathaniel took the lead. Halfway up they heard it. A girl crying, "Mommy." Emily's legs buckled, but Nathaniel caught her. "We're close." At the top, a single door. Metal. Locked from the inside. Emily pounded on it. "Lily, baby, are you in there?" A voice replied. Not Lily's. His. "You came?" Finally. Nathaniel stepped forward. "Open it, Wyatt." "Still giving orders like you own the world," Wyatt said, tone calm. "You never understood what she took from me." Emily shouted, "Let her go!" A pause. Then, "Only if you come in. Alone." Nathaniel grabbed her wrist. "Number." But she was already stepping forward. "I won't let her grow up afraid, like I did." Wyatt unlocked the door with a slow click. Emily entered. It shut behind her. Nathaniel slammed into it, punching the steel. No sound. Clara reached him seconds later. No signal. No way in from here. But, she pointed, a narrow maintenance hatch along the side of the tower. Nathaniel didn't hesitate. Inside, Emily faced Wyatt. He stood near the window, Lily tied gently to a chair, unharmed. "I knew you'd come," he said. "History has to complete itself." Emily stared him down. "I'm not scared of you anymore." "Good," he said, reaching into his coat. "Then this will be fair." He pulled out a pistol, placed it on the table. "Let's see if your hands still shake." Outside, Nathaniel was already crawling through the shaft. One slip, and the fall would be fatal. But he didn't stop, because inside that tower was the woman who once saved him from a lifetime of silence, and the daughter he never knew he had. Inside the clock tower, the ticking of gears drowned out the tension. Emily stood motionless. The gun glinted on the table between her and Wyatt. Lily whimpered behind her, tears streaking her cheeks, but unharmed for now. Wyatt's voice was calm. Too calm. "Pick it up," he said, gesturing to the pistol. "No tricks, no running, just you, me, and the truth." Emily's hands remained at her sides. "I don't need a gun to finish this." Wyatt stepped forward. "You always were poetic. That's what made you dangerous." Emily glanced at Lily, then back at him. "You don't want to kill me," she said. "Oh, but I do," he replied. "But only once you understand why." Meanwhile, Nathaniel moved through the maintenance shaft inch by inch, the metal creaking beneath his weight. He could hear faint echoes, voices, movement, tension. He gritted his teeth, eyes fixed on the grating just ahead. He was almost there. But his mind wasn't just focused on the rescue. It was unraveling the pieces. Wyatt wasn't acting alone. He had resources, cover, timing. This wasn't revenge, it was a reset. And Emily was the key. Back inside, Wyatt began to speak. "Do you know what it feels like," he said, "to be erased?" Emily didn't answer. "I gave 27 years of my life to systems that never blinked, missions no one speaks of, successes no one saw. But then you ruined it. You tortured people," she snapped. "You blackmailed families. You killed civilians and called it intel. And you leaked everything," he hissed, "with one thumb drive." Emily took a step forward. "I exposed the truth. That's not betrayal. That's justice. But you didn't disappear fast enough." Lily sobbed louder. Emily turned halfway. And in that moment, Wyatt lunged. She dodged just in time, grabbing the pistol. But he was faster. The gun flew across the floor. Wyatt grabbed her by the neck, forcing her against the wall. "I let you run once," he growled. "I even respected you for it." Emily struggled, her voice hoarse. "Then why come back?" He leaned in. "Because you took something else. Something more valuable than intel." Her eyes widened. He wasn't talking about the data or the truth. He was talking about Lily. From the vent above, Nathaniel saw everything. His fingers slipped into his pocket, a small Tula lockpick. He began loosening the bolts. Tick, tick, tick. The gears of the tower echoed louder. Each second felt like a year. Wyatt tightened his grip. "She's mine, isn't she?" Emily gasped. "She's not yours. She never was." The door behind them exploded inward. Nathaniel charged forward. Wyatt turned just in time to meet Nathaniel's fist. The two men crashed into a table. Years of rage, confusion, and betrayal ignited in one brutal blow. But Wyatt recovered fast. He swept Nathaniel's legs, slammed him to the ground. "Still soft," he sneered, always letting her do the hard work. Emily grabbed a broken beam and swung it with all her strength. Crack! Wyatt dropped, hard, breathing, but unconscious. Emily rushed to Lily, untying her quickly. Nathaniel crawled over, bleeding from his mouth. "She okay?" he asked. Emily nodded. Lily clung to her. "Is he gone?" Emily looked at Nathaniel. "No," she said quietly. "He's just waking up." Clara burst through seconds later with backup. But it was too late for justice. Wyatt had vanished. A blood trail led to the side exit. He was injured, but free. Dr. Levinson later wrote in his classified report, "Some predators don't seek capture or victory. They seek legacy, and if you deny them that, they'll rewrite it until you become their villain." Wyatt wasn't done, but neither were they. Back at the penthouse, Nathaniel sat beside Emily and the kids. 1,000 questions swirled, but only one escaped his lips. "Why didn't you tell me she was mine?" Emily looked at Lily, asleep in her lap. "I was trying to protect her." He nodded slowly. "And now?" Emily's eyes didn't leave her daughter. "Now I think we protect her together." But as the camera outside the penthouse panned across the skyline, a small red dot blinked from a building rooftop. Watching, waiting, tracking. 3 days had passed since the clock tower. 3 days of silence, pretending the nightmare was over. 3 days of walking on glass, waiting for the sound of another crack. Nathaniel thought the worst had passed. But at exactly 2:46 a.m. on the 4th night, the red dot moved. It flickered, then blinked out, and in its place, a single word flashed across the rooftop camera feed. Again. Clara was the first to see it. She was monitoring the encrypted security feed from a black terminal in Nathaniel's safe room. She didn't hesitate. Grabbed her phone, typed one word, "Move." Within seconds, a silent evacuation protocol engaged. Emily, still groggy from sleep, was ushered into the elevator with Lily and the boy Lucas both, half awake but sensing something wasn't right. Nathaniel didn't ask questions. He followed, because he knew what "again" meant. Wyatt hadn't just escaped. He had regrouped. And worse, he had resources. Which meant someone was helping him. Someone inside. As the elevator descended to the underground garage, Clara turned to Nathaniel. "We've got a leak," she said bluntly, "and it's not external." "You're saying someone on my own team?" "I'm saying Wyatt knew where to watch and when. That doesn't happen by luck." Nathaniel glanced at Emily, who was gripping Lily like she might vanish again. He turned back to Clara. "Burn it, all of it, every device, every server. Start over." Clara didn't flinch. Already did. The convoy moved under the city like a ghost. Armored SUVs. No lights. No comms. Destination: the Haven. A classified location built under an old subway station in Lower Manhattan, shielded from surveillance. Fully off-grid. It had been built for billionaires. But now, it was shelter for a hunted mother, her children, and the man who refused to lose her again. Dr. Rourke once noted, when trauma survivors feel re-exposed to the predator, their instincts split fight, flight, or freeze. But there's a rare fourth state: protect. Everything becomes about defending those they love at any cost. That's where Emily was now. No more running. No more hiding. Just sharpened silence. Inside the Haven, Clara pulled up the full Wyatt dossier. And what they saw was worse than expected. Wyatt wasn't just working alone. He had ties to Phoenix Directive, a rogue intelligence branch decommissioned in 2013. Except it hadn't died. It had gone private, recruiting ghosts, selling secrets, eliminating liabilities. Emily was one, and now so was Nathaniel. He slammed his fist on the table. What the hell does he want? Clara stared at the screen. It's not just revenge. She clicked on a folder labeled Project Orchid. Inside, surveillance footage from 2004. Lab results. A pregnancy report. Emily's medical files. And one final document. Subject LRK. Designation: Genetic Asset Potential. Status: Primary Target. LRK. Lily Rose King. Nathaniel's jaw clenched. They've been tracking her since birth? Emily's voice cracked. I didn't know. I thought I disappeared before they found out. I never even told the doctors her real name. Nathaniel turned to Clara. What does genetic asset mean? Clara hesitated. If she was exposed to something during Emily's final days in the program, she might carry encoded data, or worse, be seen as a prototype for something. Emily looked like she might collapse. She's just a little girl. Not to them, Clara replied. To them, she's a key. Nathaniel stood. Then we lock every door. We seal this place. No one gets near her. Clara narrowed her eyes. Or we take the fight to them. Nathaniel looked at Emily. Then Lily. Then Lucas. His voice was steady. No more hiding, not this time. But on the edge of the city, a man watched the skyline. A second red dot blinked from a drone above the East River. Wyatt smiled. Now, let's begin. The war had never really ended. It had just gone quiet. But now, beneath the streets of Manhattan, a different kind of war was waking up. Not over territory, not over money, but over a child. A child who had no idea the blood in her veins held something someone would kill to extract. Lily Rose King wasn't a weapon, but to the Phoenix Directive, she was the result of an anomaly. The result of a woman who escaped a black site with information hidden deeper than file hidden in DNA. Emily's final week inside Project Orchid hadn't just been about intel. It had been about experimentation. She had been pregnant. Unknowingly, exposed to compounds meant to push memory encoding to a cellular level. Wyatt had been in charge of that trial. And Lily was the result. Back inside the Haven, Clara activated the room known as the Vault. Soundproof, lead-lined, equipped with retinal scanners and biometric locks. This was where Lily and Lucas would stay. Emily resisted at first. She's not a prisoner, Clara replied flatly. She's not. But the world wants to make her one. This is the line we hold. Nathaniel stepped in. She's never going through what you did. Emily's eyes softened. She already is. Dr. Levinson once described this kind of trauma. When children are used as leverage, their identity becomes fractured. They are seen not as people, but as tools. The only way to protect them is to make them feel human again. Emily read stories to Lily that night. Not because of the danger, but in spite of it. And while the girl drifted to sleep behind steel-reinforced walls, Nathaniel and Clara planned the first strike. Step 1. Expose Wyatt. Step 2. Dismantle Phoenix from the inside. Step 3. Disappear again, but on their terms. Clara's intel led them to a man named Simon Del Vecchio, ex-CIA, now Phoenix's civilian tech broker, living in a penthouse under a false name. Nathaniel volunteered to make contact. You can't go alone, Clara said. But Nathaniel smiled coldly. Wyatt won't expect me to show up without an army, so I won't bring one. Emily grabbed his wrist. You're not invincible, Nate. He leaned closer. I'm not doing this because I'm brave. I'm doing this because I'm done losing you. At 2:03 a.m., Nathaniel entered Del Vecchio's residence. No guards, no security. Just a man in silk robes and a glass of wine. You took your time, Del Vecchio said. Nathaniel replied, You know why I'm here. Del Vecchio sipped slowly. Everyone thinks Wyatt's the monster, but monsters don't operate in daylight. They don't wear medals. You know what Phoenix really is? Tell me. A mirror, he said. It reflects what your country wants to ignore. Nathaniel slammed a flash drive on the table. Give me what's on the other side of this. Every operation tied to Project Orchid. Every encrypted file. Del Vecchio leaned forward. You're too late. He's not after data anymore. He's after proof. And the only proof that matters, he raised a brow, is walking around with your eyes. Nathaniel's heart thudded. He's going to try to take her. Again. Del Vecchio smirked. Number, not try. He already has a window. You have 12 hours before the system resets. Back at the Haven, Clara received the ping. A breach attempt. Deep inside the vault system. From a dormant channel marked Authorized Override. Wyatt. Clara cursed. He's not going through the front. Nathaniel raced back. He's coming through the code. At 3:19 a.m., the lights in the Haven flickered. Lily woke with a start, Lucas beside her. The vault door trembled. And on the intercom, his voice. Hello again, little star. Lily screamed. Emily ran. Nathaniel was 1 floor away. And Wyatt was already inside the building. The moment his voice echoed through the intercom, every alarm failed. The security feed scrambled. Communications blacked out. And deep inside the Haven's vault, Lily curled into herself, eyes wide, staring at the speaker above her head. Don't be afraid, Wyatt said, his tone eerily gentle. You've heard my voice before. You just don't remember. Lucas wrapped his arms around her. I won't let him take you. Lily whimpered. He's inside me. Mommy said they put him inside me. And somewhere in the control room, Clara's blood went cold. Back in the command deck, Nathaniel and Emily arrived breathless. Clara had pulled every cable out of the wall. But Wyatt wasn't using cables. He was using code. He built this back door years ago, Clara muttered. Before the Haven even existed, he's been 10 steps ahead all along. Nathaniel stared at the access log. Remote override. Level 7 genetic key injected. Level 7, he said, voice tight. That's Lily. Emily was already at the elevator. Open it, I'm going in. Clara stepped forward. If he's using the system to unlock it, he's also watching the route. He'll kill you before you get there. Nathaniel grabbed Clara's comm unit. Then, shut it all down. Lights, air, doors, everything. I'll go dark too. Dr. Levinson wants to find a dead system entry as a tactic used in war zones, going in with no signals, no trackers, no support. Total blackout. It's suicide, unless you know your enemy better than he knows himself. Nathaniel knew Wyatt. And Wyatt was playing for legacy. Within 60 seconds, the Haven went offline. Every light dimmed. The sound of electricity faded. Doors unlocked manually. Only the heartbeat of the people inside remained. Nathaniel descended 5 levels by foot. No comms, no cams. Just a flashlight, a tranquilizer gun, and a fire in his chest that refused to die. Halfway through the access tunnel, he heard it. Footsteps. Not running, not heavy. Deliberate, controlled. He whispered, Wyatt. And from the shadows, You should have let me finish it back then. A light flickered. Wyatt stood 20 feet ahead, holding something that made Nathaniel's stomach twist. A wristband. Lily's. Still warm? Where is she? Nathaniel demanded. Wyatt didn't move. You don't understand what she is. You think this is about revenge. About Emily? Number. This is about evolution. She's proof that we succeeded. She's a child. She's a revolution. Nathaniel raised the tranquilizer gun. Wyatt smiled. You don't have the shot. I'm not here to negotiate. I know, but she is. And behind Wyatt, slowly stepping into view, Lily. Eyes open. Expression calm. But in her hand, a small device. She looked at Nathaniel. Mom said if I ever saw him again, I should press this. Nathaniel blinked. Lily, what? She pressed it. A shockwave pulsed through the hallway. Light snapped back on. Wyatt staggered. His pupils dilated. He dropped to one knee. Nathaniel rushed forward, catching Lily. What did you do? Lily looked up. I stopped the noise. He used to whisper to me at night. Now it's gone. Emily's voice crackled through a speaker. We encoded a frequency into her mind when she was born. A failsafe. One signal disables him. Another controls him. Clara's voice joined. It worked. Wyatt collapsed fully. Unconscious. Breathing. Defeated. Nathaniel stood over him. No more whispers. But this wasn't over. Because Project Orchid had other branches. And Wyatt was only the first shadow. Back in the vault, as Nathaniel carried Lily back to safety, she whispered, Will there be more men like him? Nathaniel paused. Yes. But will they find me? He looked at Emily. Then answered, Not if we find them first. The doors of the haven sealed behind them. Wyatt's unconscious body was transported to sublevel Omega, a room that hadn't been opened in over a decade. No windows, no signals, no light. Only questions. And behind those questions answers no one wanted to hear. Emily sat beside Lily, brushing her hair as the girl rested with Lucas at her side. Outside the vault, Nathaniel stared at the surveillance screens, his jaw clenched. He hadn't slept. Not since Lily pressed that button. The girl was calm now. Too calm. She's compartmentalizing, Dr. Rourke said through a secure feed. Children don't process trauma the way adults do. They bury it, but it grows, and one day, it erupts. Nathaniel didn't look away from the screens. I won't let her carry it alone. Clara entered the control room with a flash drive in hand. Wyatt's files, pulled from his neural implant, crude interface but functional. She inserted it. And what unfolded was bigger than any of them imagined. Project Orchid was just a test site. One of 7. Each focused on genetic leverage, behavioral control, or accelerated neural adaptation. And each one had children involved. Some born in captivity. Some taken. Nathaniel's hands curled into fists. Where are they? Clara zoomed into one document titled Generation Echo. Site 4, Southern Nevada. Desert Lab. Built under a decommissioned weapons silo. Emily entered behind them. I'm going. Nathaniel turned. You're not. You don't get to decide that anymore. He hesitated. She continued. This started because I ran. It ends because I stop. Dr. Levinson had warned of this moment. Survivors often experience what we call reclamation drive, a need to confront the source of their trauma, not for justice, but for control. Emily wasn't chasing peace. She was chasing power over her own story. Clara nodded. We go in clean, silent, fast. Nathaniel added, no survivors unless they're children. 2 days later, under cover of a storm, the team moved in. The silo loomed in the distance, half buried, forgotten by time, still pulsing with hidden life. Inside, steel corridors, whispers of crying behind walls, names scratched into rusted panels, birth dates, serial numbers, and then voices. Young, human. They found 12 children. The oldest was 11. The youngest, barely 2. No adults. Just automated systems and cold beds. Emily entered the central command room. On the wall was a screen, flickering, looping one phrase over and over. Generation Echo, a legacy of control. She pulled the wires out and then set the charges. They evacuated at 3:09 a.m. At 3:17, the silo collapsed. Dust swallowed it whole, buried forever. Later, in the haven, Emily watched Lily play with the rescued children. Each child had a name, and now each one had a voice. Emily whispered, "This isn't the end." Nathaniel stood beside her. "Number, it's the beginning." She turned to him. "We stopped Wyatt. But how many more are there?" Nathaniel didn't answer right away. Instead, he pulled something from his pocket. A sealed envelope. On the front, Generation Zeta, Level 9, access only. He looked into Emily's eyes. They weren't just building soldiers. They were building something else. From the shadows of an undisclosed location, a woman watched the news of the Nevada collapse. She smiled. Phase 2 begins now. Her name tag read, Dr. Evelyn Miles, Director, Site 5. The news cycle called it a chemical storage failure. No names, no survivors, no truth. But inside the intelligence community, silence was not denial, it was preparation. Site 4 was gone. Wyatt was neutralized. The haven was secure. But the envelope in Nathaniel's hands told another story. Generation Zeta Level 9 access only. Emily stared at it from across the room. She didn't ask what was inside, because she already knew whatever they destroyed in Nevada was only the surface. Nathaniel waited until midnight to open it. Alone. Inside the vault. The document inside had just 2 lines. Zeta Protocol. Children who survive trauma are 34% more receptive to neural binding. Test subject. LRK cognitive response marked beyond prediction. LRK. Lily Rose King. They hadn't just wanted her DNA. They had been studying her brain from afar, monitoring patterns, dreams, choices, predicting how she'd react to pain, fear, love. She wasn't a target. She was a template. Nathaniel walked to the observation deck. Below, Lily slept peacefully among the other rescued children. Lucas beside her, a family born of fire. Emily stepped beside him. "You read it?" "Yes." "And?" He turned to her. They built this system on the belief that pain could be harvested, that trauma could be replicated. Zeta isn't about creating children. He paused. It's about creating obedience. Dr. Rourke later explained. Generation Zeta was theorized as the final stage in behavioral engineering. Not just soldiers but citizens. Programmable empathy. Switchable memory. Human beings redesigned. The files included a map. A place called Site 5. Hidden beneath the Arctic Circle. Labeled Observation and Acceleration Facility. And under it, a single word. Live. Clara decoded the satellite imaging within hours. There's movement, heat signatures, 40 plus, maybe more, and Nathaniel. She pointed at the screen. That's Evelyn Miles. Emily's jaw tightened. Who is she? Nathaniel whispered. She was Wyatt's architect. In 2003, Evelyn had designed the orchid framework, while Wyatt enforced, she observed. Cold, brilliant, detached. And now, she had inherited his mission. But with one terrifying upgrade. She didn't want to control the few. She wanted to replace the many. Nathaniel paced the vault. This ends there. Emily stopped him. Number. It doesn't end there. It begins there. He turned. She continued, this was never just about Lily. Or me. It's about a system that thinks suffering is a resource. She looked down at the children playing in the artificial sunlight of the haven. They wanted obedient subjects. Let's give them resistance instead. The plan was simple. Infiltrate Site 5. Extract data. Expose the system. Burn it to ash. But Site 5 wasn't just a lab. It was a city. Buried in ice. Filled with whispering machines. Guarded by silence. Back in the control room, Clara deployed Protocol Zero, a blackout route across the Arctic. They had one shot. One path in. And one rule. If you're caught, you're not coming back. Emily kissed Lily goodbye that night. Tears welled but didn't fall. You'll be safe, she whispered. And when I get back, I'll tell you everything. No more secrets. Lily nodded slowly and whispered, make them afraid of you. At 0400 hours, they boarded the jet. Nathaniel, Emily, Clara, and 2 operatives sworn to silence. The world slept below. But above the clouds, a reckoning began. Because somewhere beneath the Arctic ice, children were being trained to forget who they were and become who they were told to be. And Emily Rose King was coming to remind them they were never theirs to command. The plane touched down in darkness. No runway, no tower. Just coordinates Clara called the Ghost Grid, a classified Arctic refueling site, long erased from official maps. The team moved fast. Temperatures below -30 degrees Celsius. Winds strong enough to erase footprints within seconds. And ahead barely visible under the snow was Site 5. To the untrained eye, it looked like part of the terrain. But Clara's scanner beeped softly. 2 meters below, reinforced hatch. Thermal sensors disabled for now. We've got 5 minutes before the window closes. Nathaniel dropped to his knees and began clearing snow. Beneath the frost, a seamless steel panel with biometric locks. Emily stepped beside him. You sure she's in there? Nathaniel stared at the ground. She's always been in there. As the hatch opened, the temperature changed. Warmer, artificial, and a smell sterile and quiet. They descended in silence. No alarms, no cameras, just the hum of something ancient. Site 5 wasn't just a facility. It was a machine. Dr. Rourke once wrote, the most dangerous experiments are never housed in chaos. They're hidden in calm, because calm breeds compliance. Level 1. Quarantine. Empty corridors. Flickering lights. Signs of recent abandonment. Level 2. Observation. Monitors. Logs. Charts labeled with names and numbers. But no people. Until Level 3. A glass corridor stretched forward. On either side rooms. Each one with a child. Awake. Staring. Silent. No toys. No books. Only screens showing shapes and lights over and over. Emily's hand flew to her mouth. They're looping visual conditioning, Clara muttered. Alpha wave manipulation. Early imprinting. Nathaniel whispered, They're programming them. Then a voice cut through the air. Not over speakers, but inside their comms. I knew you'd come. Evelyn Miles. She wasn't watching them. She was inviting them. Come to level 5, her voice continued. Let's end this properly. The elevator activated on its own. A soft chime echoed down the corridor. Doors opened. Emily stepped forward first. Level 5 was unlike the others. It resembled a cathedral. Tall ceilings, glass floors. Beneath them, hundreds of pods, each holding a child. Suspended, monitored, labeled. Generation Zeta, Stage 2. Generation Zeta, Stage 3. Generation Zeta, rejected. And at the end of the corridor, a single chair. And Evelyn Miles, wearing white, smiling. Welcome, she said, to the future. Emily's voice was ice. You call this the future? Evelyn stood. I call it necessary. You escaped once, but everything we built was still based on you. Your resistance, your will, your daughter. She proved the model works. She proved it can be broken, Emily snapped. Evelyn gestured around her. You don't understand. These aren't children. They're templates. Humanity 2.0, designed for peace, harmony, no rebellion, no war. No soul, Nathaniel growled. Evelyn turned to him. Your daughter is special, Nathaniel. She's proof that love and programming can coexist. But love alone is unreliable. What we're doing here is making it permanent. Clara raised her weapon. This ends now. Evelyn didn't flinch. You'll destroy this place, but others will rise. You can't stop evolution. Emily stepped forward. Then we choose something else. And pressed the detonator in her coat. Explosions rippled beneath them. The glass floor cracked. Evelyn's face changed for the first time. Panic. Clara fired. A flash of blood. And Evelyn Miles fell. The team ran. Pods began to fail. Emergency lights flared. Emily broke every glass door she passed, pulling children free with Nathaniel and Clara at her side. 34 children, most under 10. None with a voice, yet. But all of them with eyes that understood this was rescue. At 3:32 a.m., Site 5 collapsed, and the sky above the Arctic glowed orange for the first time in decades. Back inside the haven, Lily awoke. She looked toward the sky and whispered, Mom's coming! And behind her, every screen lit up with a message from Clara. Zeta terminated. But far away, in a remote satellite tower still connected to the Project Orchid network, a new screen came to life. And on it, a single blinking word. Omega. The world never knew what happened in the Arctic. No headlines. No footage. Just a seismic anomaly, buried in official silence. But deep within the ruins of Site 5, beneath levels thought destroyed, one chamber survived. And inside it, a single server, a failsafe, and a blinking sequence. Omega Protocol. Initiating. Back at the haven, Nathaniel stood over a digital table displaying what remained of the Phoenix Directives network. Clara tapped the screen. We've neutralized 6 out of 7 sites. But Omega wasn't on the map. It was buried. Where? Nathaniel asked. Clara hesitated. Not where. Who? Emily entered the room, bandaged but steady. Clara turned the screen toward her. Omega wasn't a lab. It was a person. Or at least, it became one. She brought up a profile. No photo. Just metadata. Name, Omega O1. Status, active. Origin, born 2011. Location, unknown. Emily stared. She's a child. Clara nodded. Technically. But Omega O1 was never raised like a person. She was trained from birth with one purpose: to outthink us all. Dr. Levinson's classified notes on the protocol read, Omega O1 is the final product of behavioral design, not a subject but a strategist. Not taught through control but through isolation. It is neither rebel nor follower. It is the decider. Nathaniel leaned over the terminal. If she's still active, she'll rebuild everything we destroyed. She doesn't need buildings. She needs signals, algorithms, influence. Emily whispered, and we just woke her up. That night, a video was broadcast across encrypted channels worldwide. A girl, around 14, pale skin, black eyes, no expression. She sat alone, back straight, voice calm. I am Omega. I watched you burn what they built. But evolution cannot be deleted. So I will build it again without handlers, without failure, without love, and this time, no one leaves. The message ended. Emily's face hardened. She's not threatening us. She's inviting us, Clara said, into her game. Nathaniel spoke first. We find her. Clara responded. She doesn't exist in the physical world. She's pure neural interface. If we want to reach her, we have to go in. Emily looked up. In where? Clara tapped a locked folder on the server. Protocol Aurora, Direct Cognitive Infiltration. A program developed during Project Orchid's peak. Designed for one mission: to enter another mind. Nathaniel stepped back. You're talking about plugging and actually stepping inside her thoughts. Clara nodded. She built a neural fortress, but she left a door open. Emily's breath caught. She wants us to follow. Preparation began within the hour. Nathaniel and Emily would go in together. Because Omega had studied Emily's brain for years. She would expect her, but she wouldn't expect both of them. Before the insertion, Lily came into the room. She walked up to her mother and held out a small object. Her toy compass. Take this, she said, so you don't get lost. Emily knelt. I'll come back, I promise. Lily looked into her mother's eyes. Number, you'll win. The countdown began. At 3 o'clock hours, Nathaniel and Emily were connected to the Aurora interface. Monitors beeped. The room dimmed. And then, silence, followed by light. They opened their eyes inside a digital space. Not code, not logic, but memory. They stood in a version of the Haven, but twisted, cold, empty, and across the hallway, on a throne made of screens and circuits, Omega sat waiting. She smiled. I hoped you'd come. Emily stepped forward. We're not here to play your game. Omega tilted her head. But you're already inside it. The floor beneath them shifted. The walls fell away. And the entire world turned upside down. The world around them was breaking apart. But not with fire or sound. With memory. Emily and Nathaniel stood inside Omega's mind. Not code. Not simulation. But layers of fractured memories stitched into a fortress. Each step forward reassembled another part of the past. A face, a room, a voice. But none of them were real. Because Omega had no real childhood. Just shadows. Just data. Emily gripped the compass Lily had given her. It spun violently. No true north here. Nathaniel whispered. She's trying to disorient us. Emily replied, she's trying to show us what it felt like to be her. Then Omega appeared. Not the girl on the throne. A child, 4 years old, standing barefoot in the middle of a white room, whispering, "Why did you run and leave me behind?" Emily froze. Nathaniel stepped forward. "That's not her, that's a projection." The child looked up, eyes black, endless. She was the first, I was the echo. Why does she get a name and I get a number? They were inside her pain now. Inside the moment, she realized she wasn't human by design, but by accident. And accidents are meant to be corrected. Suddenly, the world snapped again. They were now in a lab. Screams, white coats, a child being held down, brain exposed to light, nerves coated with control. Emily watched in horror. This is what they did to her. Nathaniel turned to her. And this is what she wants us to feel. Omega's voice returned, cold, clear. You destroyed my mother. You burned my brothers and sisters. And now you think you can unplug me? Emily raised her voice. We didn't destroy your family. They did. And we freed the ones who were left. I don't want freedom, Omega said. I want order. I want silence. I want obedience. Suddenly, the ground fractured. From beneath, rising like steel towers, every face of every child Project Orchid ever touched. Lily, Lucas, hundreds more, marching toward them, eyes blank. Emily backed up. This is her defense. She's weaponizing trauma. Nathaniel grabbed her hand. We're not fighting her pain. We're facing it. Emily let go. She stepped toward the crowd, raised the compass, and said gently, Lily gave me this to find my way back. But this isn't my compass. It's yours. The crowd froze. Omega appeared again, but this time older. Afraid. Emily continued, you were never born to be a weapon. You were born to feel. And they taught you to turn that into control. She stepped closer. But we're not your enemies. We're your mirror. Omega's face began to change. Younger, softer, cracked with emotion. They said if I ever hesitated, I'd be deleted. Emily knelt. Then choose. Not for them. Not for us. For you. The digital world flickered. The sky cracked. And suddenly, light. Back in the haven, monitors surged. The Aurora interface began to collapse. Clara ran to the systems. Neural sync collapsing. They're either waking up or shutting down forever. Then, a breath. Nathaniel opened his eyes. Emily followed. And on the screen behind them, Omega Protocol, terminated. All networks purged. Children reclassified, human. A week later, the haven was quiet. 38 rescued children now called it home. Emily walked the corridors, Lily at her side. Lucas chased behind. Nathaniel stood near the garden, planting the first tree in what would become their sanctuary. Clara handed him a tablet. You're not going to believe this. On the screen, a new message. No threats, no commands. Just a single video from an encrypted source. It was Omega. But now, she was 12. Alive. In an undisclosed location. Smiling. I found peace. I hope they do too. Thank you for not deleting me. I want to learn. Maybe someday, I'll come home. Emily stared at the screen. Not with fear, but with hope. Because the war hadn't been won by weapons. It was won by recognition. And as the camera pulled away from the haven, a single phrase appeared on screen. End of sequence.